New York Times reporter Maggie Haberman, as we've talked about a lot, is putting out a new book. And we have another moment here to look at that's pretty not surprising when you think about the behavior of Donald Trump, but it is still not a good thing for a president to have done. And I think it absolutely highlights what we've talked about before, that, okay, this whole, oh, it's the right that actually cares about the freedom of speech and the freedom of the press and all that type of stuff, and it's the left who's super censorious, doesn't seem to be true. Now, a lot of people on the left are very censorious. You talk about cancel culture. I hate that term. I feel like it's used too much and incorrectly, but you know what I'm talking about. And there are a lot of people on the left who try to utilize the tool of censoring people to get to where they want to go. Okay, but that's not someone who's in power trying to go after someone for their freedom of speech. Trump did that. Take a look at this. New York Times reporter Maggie Haberman reports in her book Confidence Man, out Tuesday, that former President Trump had threatened internally to go after her phone records to expose leakers. Quote, Trump, angry about my published stories, would bellow that he wanted administration officials to obtain my phone records and identify my sources, Haberman writes. It did not appear that anyone ever acted on it. And then Axios highlights, why does this matter? News organizations go to great lengths to prevent the government from seeing their communications, in part to protect the identity of sources who help expose what's really going on. New York Times columnist Frank Bruni says, Donald can't quit Maggie, which pretty much sums it up. Trump, in the course of giving Haberman 3 interviews for this book, told aides, I love being with her. She's like my oh my God. That is so sad. She's like my psychiatrist. Aw. Trump's obsession. He has called her Maggie Haberman and tweeted in 2018, Maggie Haberman, a Hillary flunky, knows nothing about me and is not given access. And then it goes on to continue to talk about their relationship and the fact that even though he says stuff like that, he still gives her access to him and conversations with him. So much of this is exposed through reporting she's doing with those around Trump, right? So it's not Trump himself, but he also gave her 3 conversations and they talked, and apparently he really loved it. So that's kind of the second less important tidbit, that he just can't quit her, as that one guy said, and feels the need to chat with her because it helps him talk about his emotions, which that's good. I think everyone should have a therapist. It probably just shouldn't be someone who has the job of publishing what you say, right? But to the most important point, he wanted to go after Maggie Haberman and try to expose her sources. He wanted, quote, administration officials to get access to her phone records so he could expose her sources because he didn't like what she was reporting about him. And as it highlights in that article, the practice of keeping your sources private, especially from the government, is crucial to journalism. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to get any information about what's going on in our government because no one would feel comfortable sharing it from within. And so it's so important that they're able to do that and know that their name won't get out there. And so he was trying to utilize the power he had, have administration officials use the access and resources they have to reveal the sources that Maggie Haberman was using to try to scare her or the sources away from publishing these stories. Isn't that incredible? Freedom of speech, my butt. That's an actual government official trying to go after someone for their freedom of speech. That's what's going on there, okay? So save it, right wing. Unless you're going to criticize Trump for using his power or wanting to use his power to go after journalists, I don't want to hear you're crying about how it's the biggest violation of freedom of speech that someone gets taken off of Twitter, okay? I really don't. Wild stuff. Maggie Haberman just continues to blow me away, at least with all of these bits of information.